Welcome back to Dollar Chronicles. I am so pumped to have you guys here today. If you're into uncovering the hidden truths behind money, power, and history, do me a huge favor real quick. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. We've got an absolute roller coaster of an explainer lined up for you, so let's just jump right in. So, who secretly controls your money? Honestly, it sounds like the plot of a Hollywood thriller, right? But what if I told you the modern American financial system was literally born in the shadows? Today, we're unpacking the shocking 100% true story of how 6 billionaires, guys representing a massive chunk of global wealth at the time, snuck onto a private train under fake names to completely rewrite the future of American wealth.
Part 1. The Catalyst. The Panic of 1907.
Picture this. Throughout the 19th century, the U.S. economy was basically a ticking time bomb of fragmented bank reserves. When a crisis hit, thousands of independent banks would just panic and hoard their cash, which made it impossible to move money to where it was desperately needed. The breaking point arrived in October 1907. A guy named F. Augustus Hines tried to corner the copper market. Well, his scheme failed miserably, and the fallout triggered a brutal, system-wide panic. Depositors rushed to pull their money out of trusts and banks, the stock market completely tanked, interest rates skyrocketed, and the entire country's banking network was teetering on the edge of total collapse. At the time, the rest of the world was looking at America's financial infrastructure in absolute shock. Financial expert Paul Warburg bluntly stated that the United States was essentially stuck in the Dark Ages. He literally compared it to Europe during the Renaissance and Asia during the time of Hammurabi. Think about that. America was this emerging global powerhouse, yet it had the most archaic, fragile financial system in the developed world. Now, the country did survive the Panic of 1907, but barely. Disaster was only averted because one guy, financial titan J.P. Morgan, personally stepped in. He organized private sector investments and massive lines of credit just to bail out the banking system. And yeah, it saved the day, but it was a massive wake-up call. The U.S. government suddenly realized they could no longer rely on the sheer willpower of a few wealthy individuals to rescue the economy. The nation desperately needed a central lender of last resort.
Part 2. The Secret Island Meeting, November 1910.
After that brutal panic, Senator Nelson Aldrich was tasked with finding a permanent fix. But he knew the public would absolutely reject any plan crafted by Wall Street. So he gathered a highly classified group. We're talking the absolute top bankers, treasury officials, and financial masterminds. To hide their identities from the press, they literally traveled in a dark, closed-off train car out of New Jersey. And once they were aboard, they agreed to only use their first names, Nelson, Paul, Frank, and so on. For decades, these guys would refer to themselves as the First Name Club. Now, to hide this insane concentration of financial power, they needed a foolproof cover story. So they told everyone they were just going on a simple duck hunting trip, but their actual destination was the exclusive Jekyll Island Club off the coast of Georgia. It was a private retreat for the ultra-wealthy, miles away from the prying eyes of journalists and politicians.
So what actually happens when the world's richest men disappear onto a deserted island for a week? Just imagine the sheer amount of influence sitting in one single room. For over a week, completely isolated from the outside world, they woke up early, worked late into the night, and engaged in this intense, exhaustive process of debate. Their ultimate goal? To hammer out a master plan that would centralize America's banking system once and for all.
Part 3. The Wall Street Blueprint, the Aldrich Plan.
What eventually emerged from Jekyll Island was introduced as the Aldrich Plan. It was a proposal for a single central bank with 15 branches designed to issue currency, hold reserves, and provide that desperately needed emergency liquidity. But there was a massive, glaring controversy. The plan gave immense power and control directly to private bankers with almost zero government oversight. The largest banks would essentially elect the directors. It was exactly the kind of highly centralized, privately controlled structure that Aldrich had tried so hard to keep hidden from the American public. Despite all their intense cloak-and-dagger secrecy, the truth started to leak out. Progressive politicians and the American public quickly grew deeply suspicious. They looked at the Aldrich Plan and saw a scheme designed by Wall Street strictly for Wall Street. Critics, including Representative Carter Glass, attacked it relentlessly. They feared that instead of stopping financial crises, this massive concentration of power would just become a new breeder of panics.
Part 4. A political plot twist, the 1912 election.
Then in 1912, Woodrow Wilson swept into the presidency and boom, the Wall Street blueprint was seemingly killed overnight.
The Democratic Party had actually run on a platform that explicitly opposed the Aldrich Plan. But, ideas that powerful rarely just vanish. Representative Carter Glass and Paul Warburg, who, remember, was actually at that secret Jekyll Island meeting, cleverly took the technical skeleton of the Aldrich Plan and completely rebranded it. They swapped out the private banker monopoly for a system with real government oversight and distinct regional banks. It was an absolutely masterful political pivot. So what they created is what we now call a decentralized central bank. This was the ultimate compromise. It perfectly balanced the fierce populists who were terrified of a Wall Street monopoly with the undeniable reality that the banking community desperately needed a functional lender of last resort. It was an elegant structural fix for a deeply polarized country. Part 5. The Final Compromise, December 23, 1913. After months of heated debate, molding, and reshaping, the climax of this unbelievable saga finally arrived. On December 23, 1913, President Woodrow Wilson officially signed the Federal Reserve Act into law. And a key feature of this brand new system was the number 12. Exactly 12 distinct Federal Reserve District banks were established across the country, in places like Chicago, Atlanta, and San Francisco. They did this specifically and intentionally to prevent the ultimate concentration of financial power from sitting exclusively in New York City. When you look back, the pacing of this history is almost cinematic. I mean, we go from the absolute chaos of the brutal 1907 panic straight to a clandestine meeting of billionaires on a deserted island in 1910, right through a turbulent political election, and it all culminates in the birth of a brand new financial era in just 6 short years. It is a stunningly rapid transformation of global finance. So what is the biggest takeaway from this entire journey? The modern Federal Reserve, the institution that literally governs the money in your wallet right now, was born from a secret banker's blueprint that was miraculously and necessarily reshaped by political compromise. To this very day, historians and economists still fiercely debate the balance of power it established. And that brings me to a question I want to throw over to you guys. Looking at this history, was the Federal Reserve Act truly a decentralized compromise for the American people? Or was it really just a brilliant, politically acceptable rebranding of Wall Street's secret Aldrich Plan? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I would absolutely love to know where you stand. That wraps up our explainer for today. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden history of the Federal Reserve, please hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to Dollar Chronicles so you never miss out on these deep dives. And listen, if you thought this story was incredible, wait until you see the next one. Click the next video on your screen now.